Sumter Enduro Test 2. We take off. I learned my lesson from a previous test that I wasn't going to jump out in front and try and lead this pack. I figured out that the guy in front of me, who I got passed by before, was a 250A rider, and I'm not going to compete with that. The clear-cut sections, not my favorite again, and this one taking off in the clear-cut section wasn't the best for me. The rain had gotten harder, the terrain had gotten more slick, and like last time, my goggles immediately fogged up and I got yanked off.
Dude, fuck goggles.
I'm going to try a couple things next time. Maybe I'll use some Rain X or double-lensed goggles or something. I got to try something different where I can actually see. So this is most of what the test looked like. There was a lot of this woods, and it was tighter than the previous test. And with the added addition of the harder and progressively harder rain, it was turning into wet sand that was becoming slick instead of becoming grippy. And so I was having issues where I would come through a corner and blow out the corner, just slide just too much because I was carrying too much speed. Or I mean, it's saying something as a C rider that carrying too much speed in a corner was making me blow out the corner. It took me a minute to get used to the new conditions and how they were going to make the bike react. There was a little less grip in the back end. You were going to slide more if you came to a stop. So with my tire setup being a AT81 front and a Shinko 505 cheater in the rear, the cheater on wet stuff is not the greatest tire. I still really like the tire, but it's just not the best. You can see that this whole section of the trail is more tight. Instead of being wide open like it was on the last section, the last test, this whole portion was just closer in, a little more claustrophobic. You can see that before a lot of these places where there's two trees pinned together or somewhere where you're going to have to really pinch to get through, there's a big mound of sand like right here, and a little bit farther down there's another section where it's just a heap of sand. Those are the braking bumps I was talking about before, and they start to develop as more riders go through the areas. There's a good big one right there. As more people come through, they get worse and worse and worse, so I can't imagine with coming through this section, 30 rows later, or I don't know how many of the rows were total. I think it was 110, 112 rows. There might have been more. I can't imagine being one of those back rows and trying to get through that. Those braking bumps must have been 6 feet deep. Something I've expressed before is that my ability I chase well, but I run better. So I could call myself a good rabbit. If somebody's behind me and is pushing me, I panic and I take off. This guy lets me get past him. So I feel that this guy's behind me, and I feel like there's somebody behind me now. I feel like I have more progression. I have more reason to run instead of being by myself where I have to generate the reason by myself. You can tell that I'm starting to get a little better flow and starting to feel what the bike's going to feel like because I can pick up my speed a little bit. And being tight, there's only so fast that I can go. The braking bump kind of threw me off. I didn't really follow the trail well there. One thing I will say about this whole race is that it was really flat, and there were only a couple sections where you actually changed elevation very much, either climbed or descent, and I really couldn't, and I didn't like it. I kind of wish there was more elevation change, and it's not going to change. That's not going to be any different because of the terrain where we were. This whole area is flat and getting towards the coast, so it's going to be more flat than any other area. Me and this guy get lost. I guess he was waiting to see if somebody would give him some kind of instruction of where to go. I just figured the trail's got to be here somewhere, so I'm going to take off. And I jumped into the woods and figured out that the trail, saw somebody to my right, figured out that's where the trail was. It's my friend Josh. He's in the same class I am on the same row, and he let me go past him, and then later on you'll see that I get behind him and we follow around each other. This section seemed like it was an older piece of trail that had been ridden quite a bit because there was some substantial built-in bumps, and it was kind of roller coaster feeling. You just take these big rollers of sand and cruise along. It wasn't really affecting how fast you could go. It was just, usually braking bumps are not evenly spaced, or acceleration bumps in sand are not evenly spaced, so they get a little weird trying to negotiate, and I tend to do zigzags on them. But this trail was so tight. It's the guy that got lost with me. The trail was so tight that we couldn't really get good swap rhythm back and forth to make it so you could negotiate the bumps. For somebody that didn't know where he was going, that guy really took off. This guy was funny. He'd come behind you, he was ripping, and he'd come up behind you and just take off. And give you one little beep or two little beeps, and there you never see him again. I almost got lost here until I saw the other rider ahead of me. I think it was the honking guy that was still ahead of me. But yeah, I'm glad he was there, because I would have taken a left there and ended up somewhere farther down the hill. This whole test was like this. It was just tight. It was just like it had been clear cut and it was starting to grow up, whatever sapling years these are, and they make it for very difficult riding because they're not going to break when you hit them, and usually they're way more elastic than a bigger tree, so they're going to flex and can cause you issues like pushing you over, and they'll sling back and hit you, or not, like take out radiators and stuff, so you got to be kind of cautious. You see that little road section, you can tell how wet it's starting to get. The whole asphalt is saturated and starting to puddle. This section, I guess they were trying to do a elevation change kind of section, because they put this hole on the side of a mound of dirt trail, and it was, I don't know, I like that it was a different section and a little better than just the flat stuff we had been in, but I still wish there was a little more elevation change. The water on the lens is something I'm just going to deal with. There's no way I could get it all off all the time. Come across the road here, that guy's obviously got a different plan than I do, and I'm going to take off, and you hear probably the guy he was running from come behind me and just lay on it for a good rev bomb and then get past me. You hear behind me, there's a brake squeal going on, and that guy, me and him stayed together for the rest of this whole test. It was a lot of fun to have somebody behind me that was matching pace and was always there, and I could always hear him. And the braking, I'm kind of glad that his brakes were squealing, because I had a chance to actually hear somebody behind me, and then it gave me motivation to keep running.
Down the hill, off the road, up the hill.
That's something I'm going to have to work on later on, is just riding, pushing by myself, which is dangerous to do if you go out and ride by yourself, because if you get hurt and you're out in the woods somewhere by yourself. But I need to go out and practice being by myself and making up time, and somehow learn how I can push myself when I'm alone. Back into another little section of clear cut. A little later on here, I don't think I got it on camera, I was trying to pass somebody in a section of clear cut, and I think it's the reason that I don't really have much confidence in these areas, is that I hit a stump that was probably 6 inches across, and I thought I blew my front tire out, and then I thought I dented my rim. And that clear cut stuff is that if you're not on the trail, and it looks so misleading that you could just shoot off into the clear cut, but it's not. It seems more dangerous than an established forest, because at least in established stuff like this, you can see where you're going, and you can see what's on the ground other than the leaves. But it's easier to negotiate than that thick, low cut brush stuff that we have to deal with a lot of the time on this section. The guy with the squealing brakes is still behind me, giving me motivation to move. Nice little hotline there. I gotta learn to do that better too. I don't hotline enough in the places where it could actually benefit me. Get my Enduro pass that I was looking for before. I tried one on test 1 and it kind of slowed me down. Knowing that guy's behind me and keeping me pushing forward, I had a little more motivation to try and get past people. I have to tell myself when I'm riding that, you know, you're faster than this. If I'm faster than the guy in front of me, you know, you're faster than this, just push. You know, you're gonna make your way past him. And I have a bad habit sometimes of getting in behind somebody, and then I will just sit with their speed. I just let them kind of dictate how fast we go, and I've got to make it a point to not do that, because if I do, I'll end up, you know, slowing myself down if it's somebody that I can get past in another situation. This section was really strange. I don't know what this section had previously been, or if it was just that it was an older section of track that was kind of beat up, but it was terrible. There were so many inconsistent, deep, like in the middle of a turn, bumps and dips and obstacles that it was like fighting through. I don't know, it was just fighting the whole time. It was just not fun to ride through this little section. I'm glad it didn't last very long. It was really, really tiring.
Whatever this is or used to be. Ah, fuck. Kinda sucks.
You see, like I said, as I got later on in the test, my speed picked up pretty significantly. I got more comfortable, figured out what my tires were going to do, could kind of tell what the terrain was doing, and was moving a little more comfortably. This was probably the most open part of this whole trail, this whole section, is that it was just, you know, wide enough that you weren't going to clip anything, and then you could see pretty far ahead of you, so just why not accelerate? I don't know what was there. It must have been some kind of, you know, super deep bog or something like that, but they were pointing us around this other direction, which I'm glad they did. And I just misread the trail and kind of shot off into the nothing. Then that guy with the squealing brakes guy is still behind me, so I'm kind of glad he never got past me, because you can hear him when I make a mistake. He's pretty much right there. You can just hear him coming up on me.
Come on, you fuck.
Self-motivation. There's a certain amount of relief when you come into the scoring tent, because then you can know that you can back off a little bit. But I don't know how strict they are about passing and scoring here, because it was, the guy behind me wasn't in my class, but it was still, you know, kind of unnerving, and make sure that he didn't get past me.
I could hear you the whole way.
Hey, good job, buddy. What row are you on?
5.
5? Okay, that was a good ride.
What are you running? What?
250C.
250C? I'm 30C. So,
Are you?
yeah. That was fun.
Here we go, test 3. Running into test 3, I like that we opened up into a pine forest. The pine needles make it a little difficult to read the trail sometimes, but it's a different change of pace than the just super tight single track that we had been running. Like I said before, I'm not racing my line, so there's no point in me jumping up in front of everybody and trying to fight with these guys that are obviously faster by a significant amount. I'm not racing a 250A guy, at least not yet. Take a bad line and get passed by the guy who got lost, and Josh. You know what? Josh led me for a long time. It was fun to follow somebody who I've ridden with him a lot. We ride a lot around here and ride supermotos and stuff together. So it's nice to get behind somebody who I knew how they rode and could relax a little bit. And he keeps a good pace, so it was not like I could just fully relax, but I had to definitely got a chance to not focus as hard, because I could pay attention to what he was doing and kind of mimic it. Josh gets past him. I should have accelerated and run, but this guy jumped in front of me and shut me down. I should have jumped in there. You know, you see, hindsight's 20/20. I should have jumped in a lot of places, but this didn't happen. So I get up here and find a little open section to make my pass because I couldn't sit behind him the whole time. I don't know what happened there, but they got crossed up, and you know, it gives me a chance to get ahead of everybody again. This was cool. It was the only real hill climb in this whole test, or actually the whole event. And it looks like this hill is going to be kind of hard because it looks like a vertical wall, but when you actually hit it, you just kind of coast up to the top of it and roll over. And I took this time to take advantage of my little bit of lead and yank my goggles off again because, of course, they're fogged and I can't use them. Third set of goggles. And there goes Josh. By this time, the rain had become super consistent and was getting harder, and then there was wind, and it doesn't look bad on camera. You just had to be there. I think by the end of this test, I was completely saturated, but this was the gas stop test. So at the end of this, we got to, you know, eat a little bit and get gas. Josh made a little mistake there, and then I could have capitalized, but I ended up taking a bad line. I don't know what I was thinking. Just panic and go down the middle of both of them. But like I was saying, so we got to the gas stop, and we were able to fill my bike up and get new gloves, which is, I can't say enough about having fresh, warm, like, they just came out of a van, so they're fresh, warm gloves to go and change into after coming out of wet, shitty gloves. I'll do that again, probably during my Mid-East races. I'm bringing another set of gloves and probably have to get gas sometime during the race because this 300 sucks down gas. I got 35 miles at race speed before I'm out of gas, so you can keep that in mind when I go and start racing hare scrambles. There's Josh in the front again, setting a good pace through the tight stuff. This whole third test, we stayed together for most of it. I was just, you know, right behind him. And then it was nice to have somebody close by all the time that I could ride with instead of being by myself, so I can give myself a gauge how fast I needed to be going. Back to that thing about not being able to ride by myself very well. You can see the road on the right hand side. This was never very far from anywhere, and if you look at the map of the whole trail, we did 50 something miles of race trail, and then still we're only probably at any point only a mile maybe from a road or like somewhere that you could get off and eventually somebody would come by and you could be helped. So that was a nice little peace of mind that you're not super remote enough that it's going to be very damaging if you can't get out, you have a bike problem or something like that. Somebody behind me that wants by really bad, but I don't know where he's going to go in this. He's going to get past me. It's one of those things where you just keep your line and keep moving, and if they're fast enough and able enough, they're going to get past you some way. Because there weren't many places that I could pull off to get out of the way. And I tend to, if somebody is faster than me or pushing me that hard, I'll get out of the way because it makes more sense for me, because they're going to get past me eventually anyways, or get past me. They're going to make a way past me. This was the guy that wanted to pass me. He made it past me in that clear-cut section and then gets past Josh, giving him some motivation to keep on moving, not to drop off. And then you get back to the beeping guy. The beeping guy came back.
You guys honking again.
I told you it was funny. He would just be gone, and then all of a sudden you hear him beep beep, and he would eventually he's coming past you. I knew he was fast enough. I was trying to look for a place to get out of the way. I also didn't want to lose Josh, so I wasn't pulling off unless he was pulling off. Honking guy gets past me. And makes an executive decision here and gets past Josh. Like I said, if they're fast enough, they're going to make it, so there's no point. You can fight them off as much as you can, but at some point they're going to get past you. Oh, Josh digs into some soft sand, and I get the chance to capitalize on him. Bye, Josh. Back into a clear cut. This is that same guy. He was on my row. I don't know what class he was running, but he would disappear and then come back and disappear and come back. I saw him quite a bit. I don't know if it was like fast and then he would gas out, or if he was making mistakes. I don't know, but I saw him quite a bit. I know he's on my row. Alright guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. That was Sumter Enduro Test 1 for the first video. This was Test 2 and Test 3. I really enjoyed the whole ride. It was great. I would definitely do an Enduro again if I could come across one that's close by. If you can get to one, I'd recommend doing them. It's a whole different kind of animal than doing a hair scramble or like a GP kind of race. It was a lot of fun. Cool. Thanks for watching. Peace.